Hey guys, it's Mrs. Saucetta. I'm here to show you how to complete your 10:30 assignment or November 2nd assignment, depending on if you're an A day or a B day. So you'll find the date that you missed, 10:30 or 11:02. Today we're going to learn how to interpret motion graphs and create a story graph. The first thing we're going to do is an Edpuzzle video with questions, and then you'll do a story graph Jamboard. So the Edpuzzle is actually a separate assignment right here. You will have to sign in with your Google student account. It may say that the video is restricted if you're signed into YouTube with your personal account. Make sure that you sign in with your student account to YouTube before you click on this link. Once you're here, you just hit play, and it will come to questions every now and then. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 questions to answer. The questions are directly related to the video. So right before the question, they'll tell you the answer to the question. And so once you get to a question, if maybe it was going too fast, you didn't hear the answer for the question, you can click here at rewatch to rewatch it again, and then here you would type in your answer. It says all graphs have what? It said all graphs have X and Y axes. And if you didn't catch that, then you would just hit rewatch. Or if you're ready to move on, you just hit continue. So you're going to do that for all 4 questions, and then you can X out when you're done. It will automatically save. If you're having trouble with the Edpuzzle, just comment on there, and then I'll let you know what to do. So once you finish with the Edpuzzle, you can turn that assignment in. You're done with that, and go back to the 10:30 live Zoom to get to your story graph Jamboard. This is your own copy for you to edit. So when you get to your Jamboard, I want you to first notice that there's 1 out of 4 frames that you can look at. So this is the first of 4 frames. So you're going to hit the arrows, make sure you know how to flip through these frames. There's 4 frames that you need to complete. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is the left side of the Jamboard has all the tools you need. So you have pen to write with, and you can choose if you want it to be a pen, marker, highlighter, or paintbrush, eraser, cursor, sticky notes. You don't need pictures or shapes. There's also a text box and then a laser, but you won't need that either. So I'm going to read this to you. It says, Anil cycled from his home to the park. Anil waited in the park. Then he cycled back home, and this is a distance time graph of Anil's journey. So one thing I want to make you aware of again is that distance is always on the y-axis and time will be on our x-axis. Now the time starts at 9 a.m. and then I know there's no number here, but this is going in increments of 5. So it's 9 a.m., 9:05, 9:10, 9:15, 9:20, 9:25, 9:30, and so on and so forth. And then going on the distance, of course, we start at 0, and then it's going by 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So this says again, Anil cycled from his home to the park. So this straight diagonal line shows us a constant speed. This is Anil riding his bike away from home. We can see the distance is increasing. And then it says he waited at the park. And so we see the line gets flat here. This is when he's waiting at the park. His distance isn't changing because he's still in the same spot at the park. And then he cycles back home. And we see the distance is going down back to 0, his starting point. So if we see a downward negative slope like this, we know he's going home back to 0, back to start. So now let's look at our questions. It says, at what time did Anil leave home? So you need to see that it starts at 9. It's in between 9 and 9:10. So what time would that be? You need to decide what time is here. And so I'll mark that. What time is right there. So what time did Anil leave home? That's the first question. So you get a text box and you click and then just start typing. You don't need to do anything but click where you want the text box to go and start typing. The next one says, what is the distance from Anil's home to the park? So Anil's home is at 0. That's where he's starting, a distance of 0. So we need to see how far the park is from his home. So his home's at 0. And if you follow the line up, he's at the park when the line goes flat. We know this because it says he waited at the park. So he wasn't moving anymore. So this is at the park. When he gets to the flat line, when we get to the flat line, that's at the park. And so we need to see what distance they traveled to get from 0 to the park. So this is a point right here where he reaches the park. And we want to see the distance, and distance is on the Y, so you're going to put your cursor here and then drag it to the left. And you'll see the distance he traveled to the park. It's between 6 and 8. So what would the distance be? He started at 0. The park's up here. What distance did he travel to get to the park? So you grab another text box and put that in. Next question says, how many minutes did he wait in the park? So he got to the park right here. So you can put your cursor and drag it down and see what it lands on for time. It's in between 9:30 and 9:40. Which is 9:35 because these are increments of 5. And then we want to see, well, what time did he leave? So when the line stops being flat, that's when he left the park. And we'll see what time that is. That's between 9:40 and 9:50. So how much time is between 9:35 in the morning and 9:45 in the morning? How long did he wait at the park? So you get another text box and write your answer there. Once you're done with this, you go to frame 2. And then you'll notice that there are 4 post-it notes. It says, move the sticky notes to the correct graph and explain your answer using the same sticky note you moved. So the easiest one is the car is stopped, because we already know what it looks like when an object is stopped. So you're going to figure out which one of these lines looks like the object is not moving. So the distance is staying the same even though time is going on. Number 2 says the car is traveling at a constant speed. So a constant speed, it should be starting from a point of 0 and heading up in a straight diagonal line to be a constant speed. Number 3 says the speed of the car is decreasing. So you're going to look for a graph that is starting with a really steep slope, but then you might see it start to get less and less steep, making it curve a bit. And then number 4, lastly, the car is coming back. If the car is coming back to start, then you should have a negative slope, and you should be starting at a number that's not 0, and your line should be heading back down towards 0. So you would move your post-it notes wherever you think they belong and just leave them there. And then go to your next frame. For this one, you're going to draw a line to the matching, from the description to the matching graph. So this first one says that they were walking very slowly at first. So if they're walking slow, then we're not going to have a steep slope. It's going to be not very steep slope. And then they're going to walk very quickly for 4 seconds. So then you'll see the slope get even steeper. And then it says they stand still for 2 seconds. So it should go flat. And then they start walking again. So you should see it go up again. That's scenario 1. So you'll get a pen and you'll draw the line going from whichever scenario you think is the correct one that matches the graph. Scenario 3, they're walking very quickly for 2 seconds. So you should see right away a steep slope, but it's only steep for 2 seconds because then they stand still for 5 seconds. So you'll see a steep slope and then you'll see it straighten out into a flat horizontal line, and then it'll continue walking, having a steep slope. The last scenario, they're walking very fast for 8 seconds. So we're going to see a longer steep slope because they're walking for a longer amount of time, 8 seconds. And then it says they walk very slowly for the last 4 seconds. So you'll start to see the slope getting less and less steep. So go ahead and draw your lines to the correct graph from the correct scenario. This last one is where you create your own graphs, and you are welcome to use these as examples for your graph. Like if you wanted to make a graph like this, you could use a similar story. Or you could even come back here and look at Anil's story and look at his graph. And you can make a graph similar to this. So I'll show you how to do one first. So you want to have something to write with. You could be plotting points too. So let's say that I walked, I'm going to use my paintbrush for this. Let's say I started here at 0 and I walked for 4 minutes and I traveled 4 meters. So this is my point. And then I stopped and I stayed here from 4 minutes until 7 minutes. And then I walked the 4 meters back home right here. And then I could get my pen and connect my lines. And I know it's not going to be perfect, just do your best. And so now I can make a story for this. I walked my dog 4 meters from the house. Then we stopped for, how many seconds were we stopped for? We stopped at 4 seconds until 7 seconds. So that's 3, we could say we stopped for 3 seconds, then walked the 4 meters back home. And you can change the shape and size of your text box like that. And you really should already have a text box that you could type in actually. So I did one for you as an example. You can go ahead and come up with your own 2. Once you're done with that, you're done with the assignment. Go ahead and turn it in. Make sure you're turning in the live Zoom for either 10:30 or November 2nd, and then turn in the Edpuzzle after you finish watching that video. If you have any questions, make sure you comment.